Hello, I'm Javier Hakeem, and this is Harking Back, a podcast about the pop culture of a lifetime. Whose life? Mine. I'm going back through every year of being alive and finding out what was going on in that year. This week, we are looking at 1991. I was 9 years old. God, what were you doing in 9? I don't remember much about being 9. I think I was really into TV shows. I think this might have been the kind of peak time when you'd race home from school, you're old enough to just kind of come in from school on your own, make your own snack, raid the fridge or the pantry, and then sit down to watch some afternoon, after school TV. What was the lineup? Oh, things like the Galaxy Rangers, if you remember that. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course. Transformers, shit like that. It was great. It was just the best time. Just get home from school, pour myself a big bowl of chips or crisps if you live in the UK, and sit down and watch some goddamn cartoons. Oh, life was good. Life was good. Now that we're talking about the 90s, now that we're in last week was 1990, this is 91. Now that we're talking about the 90s, I've realized, I think I've spent the last 24 years thinking the 90s was only a decade ago. I mean, obviously that was true in the 2000s, but then as the 2010s kind of kept going through, anytime something would come out, I'd keep referring to things back in the 90s. I'd be like, oh, that was only 10 years ago. And people would be like, that was 15 years ago. That was 18 years ago. Now it was 24 years ago. I still think it was only 10 years ago. I really do. All right, things that happened in 1991, by the way. Sorry, if I seem a little bit frazzled, it's because I'm just fucking exhausted right now, actually. I've been away working a cruise, which sounds, oh God, you're on a cruise. But those things, the funny thing about working a cruise is you're on a boat with the people that you're doing the shows with. And this particular boat cruise line I'm doing is quite a small number of passengers compared to the big ocean liners. It's a bit more expensive. There's no kids allowed. And once you've been on doing a show, pretty much everyone on the boat was there to see you because there's nothing else to do on this ship. And once you've been on and people have seen you, every time you walk around the ship, people recognize you and they go, hey, blah, blah, blah. And you've got to be on and have a conversation with them. So what you tend to end up doing is trying to not maybe leave your stateroom or your cabin too much, because every time you leave, you've got to be turn yourself on. God, that sounds awful. Be on and present and lively and have good conversation and be funny and just, it's exhausting. And anyway, and also last night I had one of those dreams where, those dreams where you've got to be somewhere and then suddenly every obstacle in the world is thrown up to stop you getting there. I had to get a flight somewhere, and so first off, we couldn't leave the house for some reason, and then I get a lift down to the train station, and then I realize I've been dropped at the wrong station, and then I get on the train, but the train's not moving, and then suddenly I find myself that there's taxi replacement services. What I want to know is your brain, when you're doing this, your brain is saying, for instance, okay, I'm going to let him get to the taxi or to the train station, and then you find out the train's not going, or you're at the wrong station. What I want to know is, does your brain make that up on the fly? Like, we're at the train station and then suddenly your brain goes, oh, what if we're at the wrong train station to fuck with him, right? Or does your brain know this in advance and it goes, I'm going to let him get to the train station before I let him know that it's the wrong train station? And if it's the latter, I find that incredibly fascinating, that your brain would just lead you into a trap like that. Anyway, this has gotten very cerebral all of a sudden. I'm just telling you, I'm fucking exhausted. And I wasn't going to record this, and I was like, no, do it, because someone will listen to it. Anyway, no, I've been noticing there's 250 downloads of this podcast so far, not including the YouTube ones, because YouTube doesn't go into the algorithms for the site that I'm using to host this. So thank you, everyone who's been listening. Anyway, let's get back to 1991. I ramble when I'm tired. This could be a fucking long one. I'm sorry. I found out that in 1991, Diego Maradona was suspended for 15 months by the Italian League for cocaine use. No shit. If you want to know how much coke Diego Maradona was doing around the late 80s, early 90s, there is a clip of him celebrating a goal, and a bunch of people come up to him, and they strategically crowd around him, and someone hands him something up to his nose, and he's doing a line of coke to celebrate a goal. Like, someone is there on the pitch with cocaine ready for him, that if he scores a goal, he's going to celebrate, and I know he's going to want a line of coke right now. So yes, no shit, he was suspended. Later on that same year, He was arrested in Buenos Aires airport with half a kilo of coke on him. Half a kilo of cocaine. You know that shit's powder. Do you know how much half a kilo of cocaine is? Like, your typical can of baked beans weighs just over 400 grams. He had 500 grams on him. Maybe just to get through the flight. I don't know. Anyway, Diego Maradona is, as Robin Williams would say in Good Will Hunting, doing enough cocaine to kill a small horse. Also in 1991, Dr. Seuss died. I looked up if he was an actual doctor. Not really, although Dartmouth gave him an honorary doctorate, so I guess yes and no. If I got given an honorary doctorate, I would let everyone fucking know about it. I'd change everything. It'd be Dr. Harkeen on my driver's license, on my passport, on my email signature, everything. And can I just make up a university and give myself an honorary doctorate? Can you do that? Like, you know, when people make up their own churches and make themselves deacon or bishop of it? I'm going to look into that. Anyway, obviously Dr. Seuss, if you don't know, wrote kids' books, right? And get this, during World War II, he took a break from writing children's books to do political cartoons. Imagine, and then he went back to writing kids' books. Imagine what, if he hadn't kept his shit together, what kind of books we could have had, you know, like going back to writing kids' books after World War II, right? Like how the Grinch stole the... Oh, God, I'm going to make some awful references. But you can imagine. The fact he kept it... Like, either he kind of like delved into his work and was like, I'm going to make this as clean as possible, okay? Just to like not think about the shit the world's been through. Or he... I think in some books he made like allegories to what was going on. Like Yertle the Turtle was about Adolf Hitler, and which I hope Hitler heard of, by the way, before he blew his brains out or poisoned himself or whatever. That in his last days, as he's losing the war, someone was like, "Oh yeah, and there's a guy that's made a book about you. You're Yertle the Turtle." I don't know if that lines up with the publishing dates, but it's just the thought that counts. 1991, the Jerry Springer Show debuts, and society was never really the same. If you don't know what the Jerry Springer Show was, well done you. You've missed out on nothing. It was an American talk show when talk shows were all the rage. You know, they had, there used to be a whole bunch. Like the Oprah, Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, the Ricky Lake Show, which my sister would watch religiously. And the fever pitch of all these was Jerry Springer, which was, imagine like reality TV, trashy reality TV meets daytime talk show format. And it was basically a vehicle for Americans to laugh at Americans in a lower caste than them and go, ha ha, look at them, aren't their lives fucked? And basically it would be a couple that would come out and they'd say, I've been cheating on you, and then they'd bring out the person they've been cheating with, and then security would try and stop them having a fight while the crowd is chanting, Jerry, Jerry, and Jerry is pretending he's helping people. Ugh. There was a musical written about it by Stuart Lee in the UK, Springer the Musical. I never saw it, but apparently it was very good. And then Jerry Springer was cancelled. I don't know, way too late, if you ask me. But yeah, but if we're honest, we look back and we go, this was a horrible, horrible program, but we all watched the shit out of it, didn't we? There was something alluring about watching a social car crash. Yep. I'm one of those people, yeah. In university, I think if we, had a few drinks and as you're kind of cruising through channels late at night to find something, me and my flatmates would be like, if we have found Jerry Springer, we'd be like, here we go. It's all about to kick off. Yeah. Hands up. Admittedly, I watched it for all the wrong reasons. But no, I know that's wrong now. Anyway, and you did too. You did too, okay? You could admit it. Also 1991, Kentucky Fried Chicken changes its name to KFC. Not just because they wanted to make it shorter or roll off the tongue or go for some sexy acronym. It's because the state of Kentucky trademarked their name. What a dick move. I did not know that a state could do that. I mean, surely Texas for one, if they made... If they did that, they'd make a shitload of money. California, surely as well. Things like California Games and anything called Californian whatever. Anyway, Kentucky of all states said, okay, any products or services that have the name Kentucky in them, you've got to pay us now. So Kentucky Fried Chicken went, okay, we're now KFC, which certainly would have begged the question from Kentucky going, what's the K stand for? If it stands for Kentucky, you've got to write us a check. I wonder if, like, legally the K in KFC doesn't stand for Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore. Like, maybe it stands for, I don't know, kinky? Well, I certainly know some people that get aroused at the mere mention of KFC, because I'm one of them. What else? The internet is made available for everyone around the world in 91. You can't make your own websites yet, thank God, so we might call this the golden era of the internet. Oh God, remember when people started making their own sites and it was just like an attack on the eyes of like horrendous, like everyone just went crazy with the features you could do when you first started making websites. Like the flashing font that would flash from like some garish green to some highlighter yellow to blue. It was awful. And like on a background, it would be like a grey background, except for around the border there'd be some like horrendous tessellation of like neon cats or something. Oh, it's awful to look at. And like blinking GIFs or whatever. It was just, if you could extract any information from a website from the 90s, well done you. TV shows that debuted in 91, Home Improvement with Tim Allen, Rugrats that had that kind of like any sort of animation that like they accentuate hairs on the body, like coming out of armpits or ears or anything. Like, I just find it a bit, it rubs me the wrong way. I just find it very unnerving. And Rugrats was very much one of those shows where like they would highlight the imperfections of humans on the characters. And I guess some people go for it. That always stopped me from liking it. And talking about that, the Ren and Stimpy show debuts in 91. Oh my God. Ren and Stimpy I found hilarious, but also revolting. Like, if you remember the Ren and Stimpy show, it was like simple animation, but every now and then they would do a close-up of, like, they'd say like, oh, what's that on your face? And they'd do a close-up of like Ren or Stimpy's face, and it would be like this intricately drawn, like oil painting-esque, horrendous close-up where they'd accentuated all the details of like the inside of someone's nose, and they'd have like boogers that someone has drawn and spent way too much time drawing, and like stink lines and stuff. It was horrendous. I remember my dad walking past one day when I was watching it, and he was just, he said, that is disgusting, in a way of like, what the fuck are you watching? But it was hilarious. Like the characters in it, like the horse, every time they'd interview, they had a horse that would just wander around, and they'd always interview him about something like, what do you think about this? And he'd always go, no sir, I don't like it. And it was just hilarious because that's all he ever did. He just wandered in and gave his opinion, and it was always, no sir, I don't like it. Amazing. Ahead of its time. I don't know why it worked. And I don't know how much they had to fight to get that pitch across. Like, there's a horse here, this character. He doesn't like things, okay? And he's part of the show. He's part of the show, or we and our disgusting close-ups walk. I hope that's how it went down. Really, like, out there pitches in 1991. Do you remember the sitcom Dinosaurs? Dinosaurs was a live, in quotes, live action sitcom about dinosaurs set in dinosaur age. It was like, imagine kind of like The Simpsons or like King of the Hill, but with people in giant latex dinosaur costumes. And, you know, it was very much like kind of like Earl, the head dad dinosaur, was like John Goodman, and he was a little bit goofy and dopey, and like they had a little annoying baby dinosaur that had the catchphrase. However, the weirdest thing about Dinosaurs is when it finished, the series finale was that the mistakes they'd made as a society had caused the Ice Age, and they knew they were all going to die. And the final scene is kind of Earl, the dad, acknowledging that he's made mistakes and that this is the end. And the baby's like, are we going to move? And the family's all kind of looking at each other like not knowing how to tell this baby dinosaur, like, no, we're all going to die. And then it ends and they all died. You know, obviously implied. They didn't show us. But what what ambition. Like, at one point, you're kind of feeling for them. You're like, I'm watching a puppet of a dinosaur being told you're not going to make it. And the people making this show, that would have been thinking, what kind of show are we making here? Is this a comedy about dinosaur families, or is this a poignant, like, commentary on our own society reflected through the species that ruled the earth before we did. It's like, if you think about it too much, it makes your producer brain go, bleh? Anyway, kudos to that. More of that, please. Yeah. I'd love more of that kind of ambition in family TV these days. Anyway, movies. Let's move on to movies. In 91, and there was a glut of great movies that came out. Silence of the Lambs is one of the big ones that comes out this year. Oh my God. Actually, that's in the top 5. I'm going to leave that. Let me come back to that. Some movies that came out in 1991, and then we'll talk about the top 5 because, oh geez, you will know these movies. You will know this. Movies that came out in 1991. Sleeping with the Enemy, Father of the Bride, which I would want to rewatch now that I have a daughter. Cape Fear, Robert De Niro just being peak scary Robert De Niro, like terrifying Robert De Niro. That slow. There's something like more scary to me about like what would you call it? Like a never-ending force coming at you. It's something that is stalking you rather than something that jumps out at your face and goes bleh, right? And Robert De Niro is that in Cape Fear. He's like, I'm coming for you. You're not going to know where it is, but I'm coming for you. That is terrifying. Ninja Turtles 2. Came out in 91, Secret of the Ooze. It is nowhere near as good as the first one, but I watched it for like my 9th birthday party. My parents paid for me and a couple of friends to go watch it at Hornby Cinema Complex in Christchurch. And, it was made for 9-year-old boys. It really was. It's ridiculous. It's gloriously shit. And I loved it. And I don't want to watch it again. Backdraft comes out in 91. That is a great movie. I remember when we went to Universal Studios once and they did all the rides and stuff. The Backdraft one was actually scary because they were using real fire. It was like an inferno just really quite close to your face. And you're like, okay, if anything goes wrong here, like if anything goes wrong in any of the other rides at Universal Studios, like the shark breaks down or maybe an actor will fall and break their leg. If something goes wrong at the Backdraft exhibition, right, you'll probably fry the audience. Anyway, 1991 also has Hot Shots, which I watched so many times and I found so funny. This kind of spoof movie, like the kind of Naked Gun-esque farce movie was just... Hot Shots was amazing for it. Because the ones beforehand, Airplane and Naked Gun, felt a little bit dated already to me. But Hot Shots was right on the money. It was parodying Top Gun. And Charlie Sheen was still a credible actor, and he was very, very funny in it. Carrie Ells is in it. I've watched this movie so many times, and I just found it so funny. And when they tried to do this again in later years, like in the 2000s, 2010s, like things like Scary Movie and those, I don't know, it's such a fine line. They went just too crazy, too stupid. Whereas this one, everyone was playing it dead straight, and it was just... no one is joking in this movie, right? If you go back and watch it, everyone is playing their part super serious, but everything around them is ridiculous, and that's why it's hilarious. Talking about movies that are ridiculous and hilarious, What About Bob? This is one of the family movies I told you about. Like, the other one was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I think. And I think I've already talked about that. The other one was What About Bob with Bill Murray. And it's one of those ones that I don't know if a lot of people have watched it. Bob, it's got Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, and Bill Murray plays this character, Bob, who's got mental health issues. And it's about him being insufferable and will not leave the psychiatrist alone while he's trying to holiday with his family. And my family would watch it like once a year, and we'd all sit around and laugh. And again, it was like, I didn't understand the jokes early on because, it's a movie about mental health issues, and I'm watching it as like a 9-year-old. I don't quite get all the jokes, but what I do get is my parents laughing their fucking asses off at it, and my sister laughing at my parents, and me laughing at my whole family laughing, and it was just one of those really wholesome moments where we're all just laughing our asses off watching this movie, and I don't quite get why I am, but it was very, very happy, and like some of these, some of the phrases in the movies have gone down, and even like I see my niece and nephew now, like they're quoting the movie, because my sister quotes the movie, because we all used to quote the movie. It's just a nice little family legacy. What About Bob? The Rocketeer comes out in 1991. This is one of the most underrated movies, I think, ever. Like, The Rocketeer walked so Iron Man could run. If you want to know what The Rocketeer is, it's Iron Man set in World War II. is what it is. Guy finds a jetpack. A pilot finds a jetpack, and they take down Nazis. It's incredible. It still holds up because it's set in World War II. It doesn't, it's not bound by trying to be a contemporary movie of 1991. It is a movie made in 1991, set in World War II, and it's still amazing. I think if the MCU could capture some of this magic, they'd get their shit together again. Hook comes out in 1991. This was the big Christmas movie for families. I remember we were going through LA at the time of the Christmas when this movie came out, and it was everywhere. Billboards, commercials. It was the Happy Meal toy. We were allowed to do one thing when we'd go to LA. We were allowed to go to a Toys R Us store, which, coming from New Zealand, was amazing. A Toys R Us store, like this giant warehouse dedicated to toys. Like, we did have a place in New Zealand, in Christchurch, called the Toy Warehouse, which was huge, but it was no Toys R Us. And when we would go to Toys R Us, my family would say, okay, you're allowed to pick one thing. And we go through there, and it was just Hook everything. Hook, I loved this movie as a kid, but what I was surprised about in it was when Rufio came along, who's the leader of the Lost Boys while Peter's been gone. He was the first time I ever saw someone on screen that was like, oh, he looks like me. He's kind of ethnic like me, and he's really cool. Right? Like, Rufio had like awesome red and black hair that was spiked up. He was the leader of the Lost Boys. He could do flips. He could sword fight. He had a little bit of eyeliner. And then they killed him. And I was like, motherfucker. I remember when they killed him because I was really enjoying Rufio. And especially at the bit near the end where Peter Pan and Rufio are fighting back to back. And Rufio's apologized and redeemed himself. And I was like, this character could not get any cooler. He is stealing this movie. And then he gets killed. And I was like, no. Son, this is... I remember thinking as a 9-year-old, this is bullshit. Point Break comes out in 1991, and that is directed by Catherine Bigelow, who at the time was married to James Cameron, who also this year made Terminator 2. More about that later. But can you imagine this? No wonder. I think they divorced in like 90, shortly after this, like 91, 92. No shit. Like, you're making two massive Hollywood blockbusters. Like, the stress that it goes into making a single movie. Like, I've only been involved in like Friends short films, and even those, the stress levels kill them. I can't imagine what it's like to make a major Hollywood blockbuster. But can you imagine that on a marriage? Like, one comes home and like, James Cameron comes home and is like, oh, Arnie can't just get this fucking line right. And Catherine Bigelow's like, oh, Swayze's driving me up the wall. And they just can't be there for each other. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, Point Break is... I remember they interviewed Keanu Reeves on the Oprah Winfrey Show, because in this he had to learn how to skydive and surf. And they're like, what was harder? And he's like, well, didn't even... Without, missing a beat, just go surfing. 100% surfing is way harder than just jumping out of a plane. Fair enough. I think I've mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. Point Break, at the end of the movie, where they're on an Australian beach, apparently, because the actors are doing the most horrible Australian accent. They can't do it. And Keanu Reeves tracks down Patrick Swayze on the beach, and Patrick Swayze is waiting to ride a massive wave off the Australian coast, and Keanu Reeves arrests him. And he's like, come on, let me go ride this wave. Let me go die riding this wave. And he goes, what do you think I'm going to do? Paddle to New Zealand? That line in that movie made it to the feature piece on New Zealand News. I've totally talked about this, but I'm telling it again. I wish I could find the clip of this. At the end of the news, when they go, and in other news, New Zealand's been mentioned in Hollywood. Patrick Swayze mentioned New Zealand in a movie. That made the national news, okay? That's just to let you know how much New Zealand was starved of attention for so long. All right, top 5 movies of 91, according to Box Office Mojo. Number 5, City Slickers. This is actually a really funny comedy. City Slickers is about a bunch of New Yorkers that go and do like a ranch experience. They get out of the city to go do the complete opposite. And it would have been great for like, it's got it for everyone, because, you can watch, if you're from the city and you're laughing at city people trying to be cowboys. And if you live in rural areas, you're laughing at city people trying to be cowboys from both sides. Billy Crystal is who had Billy Crystal, had Daniel Stern he's one of the Home Alone criminals, had Jack Palance. It's got a very young Jake Gyllenhaal, And Billy Crystal, there was a time, Billy Crystal didn't do a huge amount of movies, but he was very good in the ones he did, barely because he was a good comedian. I don't think he was a great actor by any stretch of the imagination, but his comedic chops were very, very good. And you could always just you could see the stand-up comedy element and timing in Billy Crystal's performances, say different to Jim Carrey's. Jim Carrey had amazing character. He was a comedy character. That's why he could do things like, Ace Ventura and then Dumb and Dumber. Whereas Billy Crystal pretty much played Billy Crystal in all his movies. And you could see the stand-up timing coming through into the performance. And you go back and watch City Slickers, it's got gags and it's funny. And the bit where Daniel Stern, he takes a shit in the desert and a snake bites him and he thinks he's going to be poisoned. And he just... I remember this. I think it's Daniel Stern's best line. He's freaking out and he's telling Billy Crystal to suck out the poison out of his ass. And he just grabs Billy Crystal and he just grabs him by the scruff and he just goes, "Don't let my kids know I died taking a shit." Oh, every time I think about it, I laugh and laugh. Right, that was number 5. At number 4, Silence of the Lambs. I don't think I watched this, for obvious reasons. I was 9 and it's about a guy that makes furniture out of woman's skin and wears it. I do remember everyone talking about Hannibal Lecter. Hello, Clarice. Anthony Hopkins won the Oscar for this. Oscar for Best Actor. Not Best Actor in a supporting role, Best Actor in a leading role. And he's barely in it. I think he's got a screen time of about 20 minutes in this movie. But he absolutely steals the show. And he's terrifying. My dad loved Silence of the Lambs and he loved Hannibal Lecter. He'd always go on about Hannibal Lecter and about how he's a character of opposites. He's incredibly intellectual, yet he's a cannibal. So he does one of the most deplorable things that a human can do. And I remember when they made the sequel, Hannibal, Dad was so excited about it and it was just nowhere near as good as Silence of the Lambs. Sorry, Dad. Right, number 3, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Oh, what a blockbuster of a movie for 1991. This movie was huge. Absolutely huge. I remember Dad went on a work trip to the States and he came back and he bought me a Robin Hood toy. It was the crossbow Robin Hood Kevin Costner thing. And they weren't available in New Zealand. And I was like, oh my God, I've got this fucking Robin Hood toy. It's amazing. I didn't realize... we watched it in New Zealand. I really didn't have any idea of English regional accents. I couldn't tell that Kevin Costner, for part of the movie, is trying to do a English accent and other parts is not doing an English accent. By the way, this movie is full of people not doing their own accents. Morgan Freeman is doing an accent. Christian Slater is doing an accent. Remember Christian Slater? Kevin Costner's doing an accent. The only person not doing their accent is Alan Rickman, who's just doing his Alan Rickman as Sheriff of Nottingham. My God, what a villain. He's great. Remember when Robin bursts through at the end and Marianne goes, "Robin!" And the Sheriff of Nottingham just rolls his eyes. Just perfectly oh, I can't believe this shit. Anyway, was this a comedy in the UK? Because now that I've lived in the UK for 14 years... I think I watched a little bit of it. The biggest offender of accents in this is Christian Slater. His English accent is horrendous. It's so bad. But at least he's trying. At least he's going no, I'm keeping it for the whole movie. Apparently Kevin Costner went through and one day just went, nah, screw it. I'm American. Anyway, was this a comedy when it came out in the UK? Because I can imagine it would have been a big blockbuster. Everyone's flocking to see it because it's about one of their legends. Would they just been sitting there going, oh my God, these accents are just... It would have turned the movie into a comedy, I'm sure. In these poignant moments, they're delivering these lines and the UK audience is just nowhere near, mate. Nowhere near. Just like that was. Let me know I would love to know what the reception of this movie was in the UK, if you are from the UK. Right, number 2 in 91. Number 2 is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. First off, if you can remember how big Robin Hood was, you'll be amazed that a movie could top it. And as soon as I say Terminator 2 Judgment Day, you'll be thinking, oh, of course, Terminator 2 Judgment Day topped it. It was amazing. As far as I'm concerned, Terminator 2 might be the best sequel ever made. And I'm also considering in that list Aliens and Empire Strikes Back. But, I mean, if you just want to take an original idea and like build on it and grow from it and be able to bring an original actor back that's been killed off from the first one with good reason and build on the lore, like action-packed, beautifully put together, expertly directed, special effects that were blowing everyone's mind. Terminator 2 was all of that. The liquid metal dude, they were able to do those effects because they built on the effects they'd used for the aliens in the Abyss. Like that kind of flowy thing. Like, go back and watch the special effects. It still holds up. In 2024, these effects still hold up, and they were made in 1991. Can you imagine pitching that? Okay, there's a guy made of liquid metal, and he can turn into anything. Okay, in this one scene, I want him to be like, he's on the floor, spread out, and you don't realize that, and then he just slowly kind of like picks himself up, like the reverse of a ghost fainting into the floor. All right, and then he turns into a guy. And they were like, okay, we'll see how we can do that. Holy shit. It was amazing. Arnold Schwarzenegger's... Like, if Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't a household name beforehand, he absolutely was after this. This was the first time I remember seeing the making of and hearing that someone would have to sit in a makeup chair for like 3 hours to do this. To get the makeup to, like, look when he was a Terminator. Like, all, you know, when he's all battle damaged and stuff. I did hear I feel a bit sorry for the actor Robert Patrick, who played T-1000, that he basically kind of ruined his career after this, because he was very open about it. He said, yeah, after Terminator 2, I was like, oh my God, I played T-1000 in one of the biggest movies of the year. I'm golden. I'm set. And he said, yeah, so I partied. I partied for a bit after that movie rather than going back to work. I partied for about, you know, a good 3, and I thought he was going to say months. He goes, for a good 3 years. Yeah, for a good 3 years. I partied too much, did too many drugs, drank too much, didn't work. And I was like, I'm top of the world. And apparently 3 years is too long to celebrate something you did in less than 1 year. And he kept coming back to it. He kept going. So yeah, after that, you know, after I'd partied for about 4 years, and it kept kind of creeping up. But at least he acknowledges it. I remember, I think that same year as we were going through LA and Hook was everywhere, my young cousin, he was about maybe 3 years younger than me. So let's say he was about 7. And he was like, do you want to play Terminator 2? He had some Terminator 2 toys. How does this happen that in 1991 you can have a movie that is R-rated and still have toys for it? How the fuck does that happen? You advertise these toys to kids. Anyway. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to move on now because I realize I'm going to be here all day if I talk about Terminator 2. It's amazing. It's so good. Also, why... Edward Furlong. A few more things. Edward Furlong, who plays John Connor in this. That was his first movie role. That's his first time in a movie, and he's the lead in this movie. Apparently the casting director saw him in a mall. Like, I thought that shit only happened in movies. Like, just saw a kid who's like, hey, you want to be in the movies? That happened to Edward Furlong. One of my best friends, Paul, the guy whose house I broke into with the Chihuahuas from last week, he had a great... Because Edward Furlong spends a lot of this movie with his voice breaking, and Paul would do an impression of him, just going like, Mom, you gotta kill Tyson! It would crack me up so much. I would always ask him to do it. It was great. Number 1 in 91 is Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast. Oh my God, my mum loves this movie. We got it on VHS. I remember watching it at the same trip in LA in 91. A lot happened that year in LA. I remember watching it and being like in that limbo phase where I was like, oh, this is a bit too kiddie for me. But also going, this is pretty awesome. So I was pretty conflicted. All right, let's move on from movies. Songs that happened in 1991, or that came out. The Christmas number 1 in the UK, by the way, that year was Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh no, Bohemian Rhapsody is from 1975, but this probably was because the death of Freddie Mercury in 91. By the way, Freddie Mercury, so goddamn talented. He dies in 91 and still sings at the opening ceremony of the Olympics the following year. That's how talented he was. 91, we get songs like More Than Words by Extreme. I find it funny that there's a band called Extreme, and their most famous song is one of the softest songs in history. Wind of Change by the Scorpions, Crazy by Seal, Groove is in the Heart by D-Light, which every time I threw a party, I always made sure that this was on the playlist because everyone always danced to this. And to me, I think the litmus test of a good party is if people are dancing. Yeah, I said it. For the UK people, The One and Only comes out by Chesney Hawkes in 91. Losing My Religion by R.E.M. Let's jump into the top 5 songs for 91. Number 5, One More Try by Timmy T. Never heard of it. Oh my God, I hope that's Tiny Tim that found a music career after A Christmas Carol. Yeah, maybe that's a Christmas movie that's never going to happen. Number 4, Rush Rush by Paula Abdul. This was a much more kind of slowed down, like if they were filming a sex scene in the 90s, this is the kind of music they'd put on with it. Keanu Reeves is in this music video. And they have a moment in there where him and Paula Abdul have like a little acting scene together where they talk. And I always find this weird when this happens, when they, music videos can tell a story, but when they actually have like scripted lines in there, like what kind of frustrated director is forcing a script they wrote into this music video when they're like going, oh yeah, okay, I hear you. Look, we'll definitely do the music video. However, I've written a little dialogue. Just let me know what you think. All right? Just let me know. I think it's hilarious when they do that. Just frustrated directors. Like, my script will be out there one way or the other. Number 3, Gonna Make You Sweat, or known by Everybody Dance Now by CNC Music Factory. Everybody dance now. Dun, 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 dun. That one. That banger of a tune. If I ever formally dance battle anyone, it will be to this song. Number 2, I Want to Sex You Up by Color Me Bad. I just want to point out how ludicrously naughty this song was from the 90s. How absurd and shocking it was that there was a song called I Want to Sex You Up. Not only that sex is mentioned in the song, but it is the title of the song and it is the chorus of the song. So outraged parents around the world were listening to their kids singing along to I Want to Sex You Up. Isn't that crazy that this seems so, by contrast by today, like I want to sex you, what's worse? Well, I want to sex you up or bring me a mop and bucket for this wet ass pussy. Those are the contrasts, all right? Anyway, we will get onto that when it comes around. And at number 1, no surprises here, Everything I Do It For You by Bryan Adams. Oh man, this was number 1 in 19 countries. It was huge. It was everywhere. Everyone knew it. As soon as it came on, everyone sang it. It was one of those ones that it just became an anthem immediately. I remember the music TV show that would do the weekly countdown in New Zealand. It's called RTR Countdown. And it was at number 1 for past 10 weeks. And by the 12th week, the presenter was getting quite annoyed. He was like, and at number 1, again, Bryan Adams. Oh, everything I do it for you. He was so sick of it. I swear to it looked like the program would end. It looked like he would announce it and then you could kind of just see him going to get his coat and leaving the studio immediately afterwards. That was kind of music in 91. Video games. Okay, the SNES or Super Nintendo comes out sometime around 1991. Okay, I say sometimes around because I actually haven't been able to find an exact date. It seems like you should be able to, but get this. If I Googled Super Nintendo launch date, it gave me November 1990. If I Googled SNES launch date, which is the same thing, it said September 1991. So Google doesn't even know, okay? All I know is, if it's sketchy. If you meet someone that has 2 different birth dates, that's a red flag, all right? I wouldn't trust them. I do know that no one in New Zealand that I knew had one, a Super Nintendo, because I think Sega won the console war there. What I did know is that my cousins had a Super Nintendo, and it kind of blew my mind. It was the best thing in the world, because this is actually the first time I'd seen a next generation console. All I'd ever known was either Nintendo or Mega Drive, but I'd never seen the step up from a Nintendo Entertainment to Super Nintendo. So seeing the difference between Double Dragon to Super Double Dragon, or Mario to Super Mario World, it blew my mind. I was like, this gaming cannot get better. And I was so jealous of my cousins. I was like, they had it in their bedroom. They had a TV and a Super Nintendo in their bedroom. I could only dream of something like that. Remember, my parents would not let me have a console. They would only let me hire one out some days, if in the school holidays, if it was good. Top 5 video games in 1991, at number 5, Dr. Mario. Number 4, SimCity. Finally, a PC game gets in there on the list. At number 3, Final Fantasy IV. Not nearly as final as you thought this fantasy would be. At number 2, Super Mario World, which is, like, is it the best Mario game ever? Maybe. And at number 1, Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, what a number 2 and number 1. Absolute classics. However, I think some better games were released in 91 that didn't make it to the top 5. Another World by Delphine Software. This is the precursor to Flashback, like not story-wise, but it's one they did beforehand. This is the first game I ever played where I was compelled by the story, where I was like, I have to find out what happens. Like, it wasn't just repetitive level after repetitive level. It kept changing. The story kept changing the dynamics. It was really, really good. I mean, the graphics were dog shit, but I mean really dog shit. But it didn't matter. I mean, I was hooked anyway. Duke Nukem. The original Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem used to be a platformer back in the day. And a little game called Street Fighter 2 debuts in 91. Holy shit. Has there ever been a game that's so iconic and enduring as Street Fighter 2? And what a step up from Street Fighter. I remember my local fish and chip hop shop had an arcade cabinet of Street Fighter 2. And it was 20 cents a game. And I'd try it and I didn't know what I was doing. And then one day, a guy came in and was like, hey, do you mind if I game after you? And so he put his coin on the screen, as you do, and I lost immediately. And I saw him get through to the final level, and I was like, I was hooked. I think I was late home for dinner because I was watching this guy just destroy this game and just do things I'd never seen, and it blew my mind. Like, even to this day, everyone knows the characters. People still know how to do the special moves. I task you to find a single game, that has been so classic and long, it has the longevity of this game. Like, some people still prefer this is a definitive version, even though they're up to like Street Fighter 6 now. Some people still go, no, give me Street Fighter 2, the original. What a game. And like, what a shot at diversity in 91. They were like, look, we've got fighters from all around the world. I mean, like, they were absolute stereotypes. But still, they were. We've got an American. We've got an American here. He's really into his military. We've got a Russian. He's really into communism. There's a Brazilian who's really into being raised by the jungle. An Indian dude. Oh yeah, he's into yoga. Yeah, damn, and ribs for some reason. And the Japanese fighter. Oh, he's a sumo wrestler. Yeah, there's another Japanese fighter. He's the hero of the game. But yeah, this was the Spanish fighter is incredibly vain. I mean. Yes, good on you for having a go at diversity, but no. Yeah, I don't remember anyone having a problem with this at the time. I remember I looked at Blanca, who's from Brazil, and I was like, I've never met a Brazilian with green skin. What the fuck is this? Anyway, Times Person of the Year in 1991 is Ted Turner, who's the founder of CNN. I remember CNN because I remember CNN being very prominent. When we got Sky TV, I think my dad's mind was blown because suddenly there was a channel that was dedicated to news, and we just not had that before because we'd only had New Zealand TV, which was like channel 1, 2, or 3, take your pick. And now we had 3 more channels, and one of them was just news. And Dad was like, I can't, what do you mean? It's just news on this channel? So CNN was on all the time. In the background of just walking through, like, all the stings and everything, the logos, it just burned in my mind. It was like living in an airport. So Ted Turner, Times Person of the Year. What else was happening? I was at 9. I had a pretty normal childhood at 9. Like, I had a good group of friends. You know, you go to school, you do your thing. Like, I don't remember anything jumping out at 9. Just like, this is when pop culture was really starting to, like, interest me and take over my thoughts, and I'd like daydream about things. Like, you know, what if the Ninja Turtles and the Transformers teamed up? Shit like that. This is the age I think I stopped playing piano. I do remember this. My parents were like, do piano. And I kind of did it for them. I, at the time, had no passion for the piano. I remember the lessons. I was very good at the piano when I could just take one piece and just repeat it and learn it like that. Like, I could actually play Everything I Do It For You on the piano. Up to a certain point, because it was a really long song, and I remember doing a recital, and I just was playing it and getting really into it, and then I just stopped halfway through and I just went, that's all I've learnt. And everyone went, oh, well done. The thing that I hated with the piano was sight reading. Reading music was my kryptonite, was my Achilles heel, and I could not do it for the life of me. Couldn't do it. I tried really hard. Maybe if I don't know. It didn't help that for a while around this time, my regular piano teacher went away somewhere. We had a substitute, and this old lady, she was the kind of bony finger, like yelling at you, like, no, it's this, no. And she would go like, don't guess, read. And I remember a couple of times, like, just sitting there trying to sight read while she's yelling at me and just like crying. I started crying in these piano lessons, and I was like, this is not fun at all, and I don't want to do this. And you know, when you're a kid, you're trying to do something, you're trying not to cry. Oh, I hated her. She made me feel awful. And I think it was around this time I came home and went, I don't want to do the piano anymore, okay? And I don't remember if my parents put up much of the fight. I think my dad did say, he was like, okay, but you know what? You're going to regret it one day. And he was like, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I tell you, 10 years time, you're going to regret this. And later on in life, I picked up the guitar and I really enjoyed that. So that's kind of my only regret, that like maybe if I'd kept playing piano, it might have got me onto the guitar. I don't know. I really wish I'd started playing guitar earlier, because I just do it as a hobby now. I love it. And I'm really, I just know some chords. That's my level. Anyway, that's the time I stopped playing piano. I think I got to grade 4. Is that any good? I don't remember. I don't know at all. Yeah. That bitch making me cry. Anyway. Childhood trauma unlocked. Oh wow, we're at 40. There's a long podcast here. Again, thank you for listening to this podcast. That again, I will not be not editing any one of these. That's just the way it's going. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Please share about it, comment about it, join the Discord, do whatever you like, and I'll see you back here next week with 1992. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Time to